Hey, what's up, friends? Welcome back to Babel on Talmud. Um, Today we're learning Daf Lamed Ches of Masechta Berachos. Still in the parak of Ketzad Mevorchin. We're basically, trying to figure out more brachas on stuff, right? We're basically just going to have a whole bunch of different stuff and figure out what bracha we make on them and why, and of course how they relate to other things that we've said, and try to figure stuff out. Hopefully we'll succeed. Let's do it. Daf Lamed Ches Amud Aleph, all the way at the top. Amalei Abai Rav Yosef, Zak Abai to Rav Yosef. Haikuba Da'ara. So Kuba Da'ara we mentioned yesterday. It's basically you have some kind of hole in the ground with some heat source, some kind of like underground oven or something, and you put in some flour and some water, and you mix it together, and you kind of make some kind of dough, bread, pastry that way. So my varchin on ilave. So what bracha do you make on this kupa da'ara? So amarle. So if Yosef said to Abai, misavet namu. Well, I don't know. Do you think it's bread? Because I guess the assumption being, if it was bread, then you would say hamotzi lechem in aretz. I wonder what that shadow moving across the window is. Who knows? Could be anything. Guvla ba'amahu. Rav Yosef says, no, it's just some kind of guvla ba'alma. It's just some kind of kneaded thing, which is interesting. So, because wheat in general, let's just say wheat, for example. I guess it's probably all 5 grains, but let's just take wheat for a second. There's like 4 possible brachas that you can make on wheat, and it's kind of like interesting. Like when do you make which bracha? So, if you just chew on raw wheat, as we had said in the past, you would say ber pri adama. If you grind it into flour, you would then say shakloni v'vero. If you make it into bread, so then you're going to say hamotzi. And if, as we're saying over here, if it's just guvla ba'alma, if it's just some kind of like kneaded dough that you're baking somehow, it's going to be brei minei mezonot, as we also say on like cake and cookies and crackers, So like there's 4 possible brachas that you can have for the chameshes minei dagan, and like at what point do you make which one? At what point is it considered bread? At what point is it considered not bread? And when do you say shakel? When do you say mizonot? It's a little bit complicated trying to sort of lock down at what point do you make which bracha? Anyways, so Rav Yosef says no, this isn't bread. It's just some kind of guvla. Okay, and therefore umvarchin ilave brei minei mizonos. Therefore, you're just going to say brei minei mizonot. Okay. Very nice. So now, but Mar Zutra, this is interesting, he would be kovea seuda on it. He would actually eat this stuff as a meal. And because he was eating it as a meal, he says amotzi lechem min aretz on it. Okay, so now already we're starting to see that that's like a thing. Like you can have stuff that's mizonot, but if you make a meal on it, you're gonna say amotzi lechem min aretz on it. V'shalosh brachos, and he would say Birkat Hamazon afterwards. Amar Bar Avashi v'adam yotze be'ani dei chavos b'Pesach. My time alechem oni karinim bei. Mar Bar Avashi even says that you can eat it as matzah on Pesach, assuming that it's not chametz. So in order to be able to use it for matzah, then that would mean that it's hamotzi lechem min aretz. I imagine even if you're not kovei suda on it. I don't know, if I eat a piece of matzah, so then I have to wash, even if I'm just taking a bite of it. So is that what Mar Bar Avashi is saying? I don't know, I guess so. Alright, why? Is that because he assumes that it's just considered like something that people are automatically kovei sud on? Well, why do we even wash on like bread, on matzah? What about matzah makes it wash worthy? It's just like a cracker. What about the process? Because it's a dough? Okay, I don't know. Then what about something like pizza or something? So, everyone says all sorts of different stuff about pizza. Some people say you have to wash, some people say mizonot, some people say it depends on what you have. Maybe it's possible, but kisnim, we're going to find out about that later on. It's complicated. So we have this kuba da'ara that basically everyone's doing something else on. Right, Rav Yosef says it's mizonot, right? Mar Zutra would be kovei asuda, then he would say hamotzi lechem min aretz. Rav Ashi says you can even use it as matzah. You could be yotzi or chiyuv of achilas matzah, chiyuv midaraisa, of eating matzah. He's so confident that it's considered bread. Okay, we gotta, it's a lot of stuff here. A lot of stuff that we gotta very subtle, seemingly subjective stuff that it's hard to kind of wrap your head around and lock some conclusive rules over here. This is also interesting. Honey from a date, you say shakol niyeh b'dvaro on it. Now, if you remember back to our Mishnah, we said what? On peros haaretz, on any fruits that come from the ground, that come from, peros ha'ilan, and any fruits that come from a tree, you say brei priya eitz, such as like an apple or something. The exception being wine. Because on wine you say brei priya gafen, meaning the assumption being that we would have thought that on wine you would say brei priya eitz. Yet we're saying that when it comes to honey from dates, you don't say brei priya eitz. So why the juice from, why sort of like when you take the juice from a grape, do you say brei priya gafen? Or we would have this assumption that even if it wasn't so chashuv that it would say brei priya gafen, you would at least say brei priya eitz. Yet when you take the honey from a date, you say shakol niyeh b'dvaro. Right? My time is ba'amahu, because it's just considered like a byproduct of dates. It's just sweat from the date. So Rashi says, Ve'en lecha pri anita in Dibra Maslil Rabbi Yeshua Poter. I guess it comes up in a minute, but Ve'en lecha pri anita l'mashke elazeisim v'anavim b'vad. So Rashi for some reason seems to be assuming that because the only things that you're really going to juice are olives to get their oil and grapes to get their juice. So then to make wine. Okay, fine. So that explains why on olives, on olive oil and on wine, you would say, on olive oil you'll say brei priya eitz, and on wine you'll say brei priya gafen, but that's just because it's super chashuv. Otherwise you would have said brei priya eitz. Beseder, but it's still kind of funny because like if you look in the pasuk that defines the 7 species that Eretz Yisrael is praised by, it doesn't say dates in that pasuk. It says honey, which would sound to me like honey is extremely tightly associated with dates. I mean, it says Eretz Zeit Shemen, right? It talks about olive oil when it's talking about olives, and it talks about honey when it's talking about, right, udvash, and dvash is dvash tamarim, honey of dates. That's how we know that dates are the shivat aminim. So I don't know. It's like funny that we're saying, no. Even so, like the honey from dates is just like sweat. It's just a byproduct. It's not so important. Okay, like why? So come on, who does Rav Ashi say like? Ki hai tana, like the following tana. The tanan is we learn in the Mishnah. Dvash tamarim v'yein tapuchim v'chometz sfonios. The honey from dates, and I think it's like probably apple cider, and some kind of vinegar made out of grapes. Ush'ar me peros, and all other fruit juices. Shel truma. So if they're truma, Rabbi Eliezer mechayiv keren v'chomesh. So Rabbi Eliezer is mechayiv keren v'chomesh. So for example, if some guy has, if somebody gives a whole bunch of oranges to a Kohen and he makes it into orange juice, and you don't realize that was truma, he gave it to the Kohen as truma, and you don't realize that it's truma and you drink it. So according to Rabbi Eliezer, okay, well, you just, consumed truma. So you have to, as we learned the other day, you have to pay back what you drank plus an additional fifth. Rabbi Yeshua Poter. Whereas Rabbi Yeshua says, no, you don't, because, things like orange juice or, any of these other fruit byproducts are not considered, right? What does he say? Right? He says, Dizeya be'almahu ve'en shem truma chalalav, in the Dibra Maskil of Rabbi Yeshua Poter. Rabbi Yeshua says it's poter because it's just sweat, right? Orange juice or honey from dates, it's just sweat from the fruit. It's not actually the fruit, and therefore you're going to be, you're poter from having to pay the additional fifth, but you're going to nonetheless pay back what you took. Okay, fine. So one of the rabbis said to Rava, Trima Mahu. So what do you make a bracha on Trima? Now Trima is some kind of like, what is it called? Pressed fruit. I don't know. So if you take dates and you press them or something, you're not exactly crushing them, you're just kind of sticking them together, I guess. So what bracha do you make on these dates? Lohava adaite the Rava, and Rava didn't. Lohava adaite the Rava Ma'ika Amalei, and Rava didn't exactly chop what this guy was asking him. Yosef Ravina kame the Rava. Now Ravina was sitting there in front of Rava Amalei, and he said to this fellow who asked the question, "The sumseme ka amart, or the kurtme ka amart, or the purtzene ka amart? Are you talking about when you press sesame seeds to get their oil, or kurtme?" He says it's karkom, which I thought is like turmeric, but the Sefaria said it's like safflower or something. I don't know what that is, but in any event, or is it grape seeds that you're then going to add like some water to make some kind of a mead? So so while Ravina was sort of like leading on this student to explain himself, Rava basically chopped what the student was asking him. And Amar lechashil tavade ka'amart, you are certainly referring to pressed figs, pressed dates, right? Something that is like pressed. Ve'adikartan milsa hada amar Ravasi, and it's reminding me of that which Ravasi said, Haitamer shel truma mutar lasos man trima vasur lasos man shechar. That if you have dates of truma, you would be allowed to like press them, but you wouldn't be allowed to make them into beer, because by taking these dates, right, which are the fruit and they're truma, so you can't just like destroy them. You have to preserve them as their fruit. You can't make them into beer, because part of the process of making them into beer, you're going to basically remove it from being a fruit. You're going to have to, soak them, crush them, do something, some processing. However, just to press them, honestly, I'm not exactly sure what pressed dates are, but I guess somehow squishing them slightly, so then that would be allowed when it comes to truma. So we see that it retains its fruit status, and therefore it would be boy priya eitz. We also tamir v'avdinu trima mevarchin levaya boy priya eitz. And the halacha is that if you take dates and you press them, so then it will be boy. The bracha is boy priya eitz. My time, how come? The musai ukai make it the meikar, because they remain intact, they remain the same. Okay. Shtisa. Okay. Shtisa is basically, what I understand, it's like some kind of, you take barley kernels and you roast them somehow, and then you make them into a flour, and then you make that flour into some kind of porridge of sorts. So Rav Amar Shakol Niya B'Dvaro, Shmuel Amar B'Minei Mizonos. So Rav says that the bracha on this is Shakol Niya B'Dvaro, okay? Even though barley is one of the five types of grains, but he says that you would say Shakol Niya B'Dvaro. And Shmuel says that you would say Minei Mizonot, okay? Amar Rav Chisda V'lo Pligi. And Rav Chisda says that Rav and Shmuel aren't actually arguing. Ha'be'ava ha'beraka. It depends. When Shmuel says that you're saying Berei Minei Mizonot, it's because it's like a thicker kind of porridge. Ha'beraka, and whereas I think it's like a porridge. I don't know. Yeah, I think it's like a porridge. So, and Rav says that you're going to say Shakol Niya B'Dvaro because it's like thinner. Okay. So aval achila avdela, raka l'refua avdela. Okay. Now when it's thicker, so you make it for eating, and therefore if it's for eating, so you're going to say Berei Minei Mizonot. But if it's thinner, so then you make it as a medicine, and therefore since it's a medicine, you're going to say Shakol Niya B'Dvaro, which is interesting, right? Because we had a havamina to say on daf, I believe it was Lamed Vav Amud Aleph, that if something is a medicine, right, it was in the context of the anigron, right, that if somebody, it's Shabbos, and his throat is bothering him, so he can't just use olive oil, so he puts it into this anigron, and he puts lots of olive oil into this borscht, and then he eats that. So we say Berei Priya Eitz, right, because that's the bracha that you make on olive oil. So here, when he's using this, what are we calling this thing? This shtisa, and he's using it as a medicine, so what? Why shouldn't he say Berei Minei Mizonot? So unless what you're going to say is that, kind of almost like what I was talking about earlier, right? At what point does wheat, or in this case barley, take on its different brachas, right? So if you would eat it raw, it would be Berei Priya Adama. You then made it into flour, it's now Shakol Niya B'Dvaro. So if it's thick, it becomes Berei Minei Mizonot. But maybe since it's thin, it never really became this other food, and therefore it's just still Shakol Niya B'Dvaro, like when it's flour. That's what I'm thinking. And therefore, since it's a medicine, so you might think that we shouldn't make a bracha at all. We're going to get to that in the Gemara. But basically, it's going to be the same thing as we said the other day, that since you're getting hana from it, you're going to make a bracha, right? And the bracha that you make at this point, since it's thin, is going to be Shakol Niya B'Dvaro. That's what I'm thinking. Anyways, fine. Masav Rav Yosef. So now Rav Yosef asks a kasha on how we just define this whole shtisa thing about thin and thick, shakol, Berei Minei Mizonos. V'shavin shebochshin is ashtus b'Shabbos, v'shosin zeisum mitzri. So 1 second. That both Rav and Shmuel agree that you're allowed to, I assume that that's Rav and Shmuel, that they agree that you're allowed to, imagine you have this thin wheat, this thin barley flour thing that we're talking about, that Rav is talking about, that we're using for a medicine. So you're allowed to I don't know what the word is. Like, imagine like eggs. I guess when you're like taking like or like to stir it. I guess I don't know when you take like a fork or something and you like mix it together or something like to beat eggs. But I guess what would the equivalent be if it was like some kind of liquidy flour thing? So you would just kind of take a fork and kind of like move it around in a bowl kind of thing. I don't know. Vishosin Zaysoma Mitzri, and you're allowed to drink this Zaysoma Mitzri kind of thing. All right, and Rashi just says, we explain what that is in Masechta Pesachim. I guess it's probably not so straightforward, because if it was, he probably would have told us. But Visakadaitich says the Gemara, L'rfua kamachvin. But if you're telling me that the reason why you're right that you're allowed to mix this thin barley flour thing on Shabbos, well, if you're telling me that when it's thin, it's for medicine, well, L'rfua b'Shabbos mishari, are you allowed to have medicine on Shabbos, right? We said the other day that you're not supposed to have medicine that's obviously medicine on Shabbos because we're concerned that you might then come to grind up different spices and stuff to make medicine. So Amalei Abaye vatlo tizbra, and Abaye says to Rav Yosef, well, you don't agree? Don't you agree that you would be allowed to mix together this thin shtisa on Shabbos, even if it's for medicine? V'atnan, we have a Mishnah. A person is allowed to, eat any food that he wants on Shabbos and drink any drink that he wants, even if it's going to have medicinal benefits. So, elamai yislach lememer. So what are you going to have to say? How are you going to explain why, how are you going to explain this Mishnah of why you could eat anything or drink anything, even if it's going to have medicinal value on Shabbos? So you're going to have to say, Gavr la'achila kamachvin, because when the person is eating whatever that food is on Shabbos, he's really just intending to eat it. Hachinami, Gavr la'achila kamachvin. So here also, in the case of the shtisa, when you could mix it together on Shabbos and then consume it, he's really just intending to eat it. Okay? Lishna achwina, or you could say slightly differently, right? So basically, why can you eat anything or drink anything even if it has medicinal value on Shabbos? Because your intention is for eating the thing, and the healing just happens, as a byproduct, right? It happens automatically. You're just eating this, shtisa, and then, whatever medicinal values just come along with it. So, beseder. So that's why I guess it would be permitted to mix together the shtisa on Shabbos, because it's just regular food and whatever medicinal value comes along with it. But because it's a regular food, it would be okay. Okay, fine. And therefore, we said, and that's how we explain Rav and Shmuel. Rav says you say shakol ne'avadvar on shtisa because it's a thinner shtisa that you use for medicine, and Shmuel says you say mizonot because it's a thicker shtisa that you can actually eat and enjoy. Utsricha de Rav, and we need Rav's statement about the medicine thing. Di imehai hava amina la'achila kamachvin verfua memela kahavya. Aval hacha kevin l'chatchila l'refua kamachvin lo livrich ilave klal. I might think that on Shabbos, when you're making this shtisa, so then I guess maybe you would say shakol ne'avadvar on it because you're making it as a food, and we're saying that the healing is just happening automatically. Whereas over here, I guess during the week or something, whenever you have this shtisa thing and you deliberately make it thin so that it'll be a medicine, so then maybe you shouldn't have to make a bracha on it. So therefore, he's teaching us that since he gets hana'ah from it, he has to make a bracha. All right, great. So, okay. And I guess it's a shakol ne'avadvar because it's not really like the food or something. Okay. Fine. Shalapasu omer amotzi v'chulei. So the Mishnah said that on fruits that come from the ground, you say brei priya adama, with the exception being bread. You don't say brei priya adama on bread. On bread you say amotzi lech min haaretz. Tana Rabbanan. Ma'u omer. What is the bracha that you make on bread? So hamotzi lechem min haaretz. So the Tanakama says that the bracha that you make on bread is hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Okay, that's what we recognize. That's what we're familiar with. Rabbi Nechemia omer motzi lechem min haaretz. Rabbi Nechemia says no, it's not hamotzi lechem min haaretz. It's motzi lechem min haaretz. Okay, so Rava says, well, everyone agrees that, Rabbi Nehemiah's version of motzi lechem min haaretz is past tense, right? Because after all, we're eating bread that had already come out of the ground, right? We're not eating bread that in the future will come out of the ground. It already came out of the ground, it was processed, and we ate it, and now we're eating it. So we need that hamotzi lechem min haaretz or motzi lechem min haaretz has to imply that the bread has already come out of the ground. So everyone agrees that motzi lechem min haaretz implies past tense, which is what we want, and that's Rabbi Nehemiah's position. Dichsev, as the pasuk says, there's a pasuk by Bilam in Parshas Chukas when he is blessing the Bnei Israel, and he says, "Kel motziam mimitzrayim," that God took them out of Egypt, i.e., past tense. They had already been taken out. They were like wandering in the desert at that point. Ki plige, where do Rabbi Nehemiah and the Tanna Kama argue? Behamotzi. They argue on, does hamotzi imply past tense or future tense? Rabbanan Savre hamotzi ta'apik mashma. So the Rabbanan hold that hamotzi implies past tense, and that's why they say hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Dichsev, as the pasuk says, hamotzi lecha mayim mitzvah chalamish. Right? This was a pasuk in Parshas Devarim that right, Moshe says that God took out from you water from a rock, and that already happened. Rabbi Nehemiah savar hamotzi dimapik mashma, whereas Rabbi Nehemiah says hamotzi implies the future shenemar, as the pasuk says in Parshas Va'era, when God tells Moshe to go to the Bnei Israel and tell them about what is going to happen, hamotzi eschem mitachas sivlos mitzrayim, that God will take you out from Egypt. So therefore, Rabbi Nehemiah says that hamotzi implies in the future. Therefore, you can't say it on bread. V'Rabbanan hahu hachi kamalu kuchi b'chol Yisrael. But the Rabbanan explained the hamotzi eschem mitachas sivlos mitzrayim as being past tense, not future. How do they explain it as being past tense? So the Rabbanan say that no, this is what God is telling the Bnei Israel. Kadma pikna lechu, that when I will in the future take you out of Egypt, avidna lechu milsa, I will at that time do something for you, ki hechi diad isu, so that then you will know de anahu de apikis yaschon mi Mitzrayim, that I am the one who took you out of Egypt, that it was me who took you out of Egypt. So we see that hamotzi is actually past tense. Right? It says in the pasuk, right? It says this pasuk, "L'kachti eschem li la'am," I will take you for me as a nation. Va'isi lachem ne'elokim, and I will be for you as a God. Vidatem, and then when I take you out and make you, and be for you as a God, you will then know that ki ani Hashem Elokecha motzi eschem mitach sivlos mitzrayim, that I was at the time, it was me who took you out of Egypt. Dichsev, as the pasuk says, vidatem ki ani Hashem Elokechem hamotzi, that you will then know that I am God who took you out of Egypt. So therefore, okay. So the Rabbanan want to say that hamotzi means past tense. And that's why they say hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Okay, very good. Mishtabchin le Rabbanan, the Rabbi Zera, as Bar Rav Zvid, achvad Rab Shimon Bar Rav Zvid. So the people, the rabbis were really praising this guy named Bar Rav Zvid. They were praising him to Rabbi Zera. The Adam Gadol, is a great man, uvaki bebrachos, and he's like a real expert when it comes to brachos. Uvaki bebrachosu. Amar laim. So Rabbi Zera said to them, he says, wow, okay, well, you know what? If he's a real expert when it comes to brachos, I want to ask him a question. The next time you see him, bring him over so I can ask him at this. So So one time, Bar Rav Zvid was taka there, and he came to Rabbi Zera. Apikule rifta. So they pulled out a loaf of bread. Pasach v'amar motzi. And Bar Rav Zvid, what bracha did he make on the bread? Motzi lechem min haaretz. Omar, so Rabbi Zera said, Zeu shom malav d'adam gadol uvaki b'brachasu. This guy who said motzi, he's the big brachos expert. He was just trying to play it safe. If he would say, right, so he says, so the Gemara says, Bishlam yamar hamotzi. If Bar Rav Zvid would have said hamotzi, okay, that's impressive. Okay, he's teaching me something. Ashmin and Taima. He's teaching me pshat in the pasuk that when it says hamotzi eschem mitachas sivlos mitzrayim, it's not the future, it's past tense. Vashmin and the hilchasa k'Rabbanan, he would be teaching us that the halachas like the Rabbanan, that we say hamotzi lechem min haaretz. El da'amar motzi, but just to say motzi like he said, my kamash malan. Well, he's not teaching me anything interesting, right? Anybody could just play it safe like Rabbi Nechemia, who everyone agrees that it means past tense. Now, Bar Zvid said Motzi because he wanted to release himself from any kind of this machlos in the Rabbanan and Rabbi Nechemia. Seder, he was just playing it safe, but he wasn't exactly teaching a big chiddush. V'hilchasa, what's the halacha? Do we say ha-motzi lechem min haaretz or motzi lechem min haaretz? What do you guys think? Ha-motzi lechem min haaretz, the kaim l'k Rabbanan, dam ridapik mashma. So we say ha-motzi lechem min haaretz because we go like the Rabbanan, who say that it implies past tense. Okay? Very good. So on vegetables, we say boy pri adama. Okay? Katani Yerakos dumi de pas. So if we look at the Mishnah and the Aflamet Heo Mid Aleph, so the Mishnah says what? That on fruits that come from the ground, you say boy pri adama. The exception being bread. That on bread, you say amotz lechem min haaretz. And immediately afterwards it says that on vegetables say boy pri adama. So what the Gemara wants to say is that the juxtaposition of vegetables to bread in the Mishnah is teaching us that we can compare, or that we should compare, at least to learn out of halacha, we should be comparing vegetables to bread. So says the Gemara, Katani Yerakos dumi de pas. We're teaching vegetables being similar to bread. Ma pas shenishtinu ayidea or after Yerakos na shenishtinu ayidea or. Just like bread is something that was changed via fire, you baked it in an oven and made it into bread. So also we can learn out about vegetables, that when we say that the bracha on vegetables is b'rei pri adama, it's not only when it's raw, but it's also even when it's cooked, even when it's boiled. Amar Rav Nai, Mishmei da Abaye, so Rav Nai says in the name of Abaye, Zosomer shlakos mevarchin alein b'rei pri adama. So this teaches us that if you boil vegetables, they retain their bracha of b'rei pri adama. Okay? Very, very good. Very good. Okay. Darsh Rav Chizda Mishum Rabbeinu Umanu Rav. This is cool. So Rav Chizda teaches in the name of Rabbeinu. Who's Rabbeinu? It's Rav. Okay. Shlokos mevarchin alein b'rei pri adama. What bracha do you make on boiled vegetables? B'rei pri adama. Rabbi Seinu Ayardin Meretz Yisrael. But our rabbis who came from Eretz Yisrael, and it says Yordin, those who came down, right? When you move to Israel, it's called Aliyah. You make Aliyah, you go up to Israel. When you move from Israel to Chutz La'aretz, it's called Yeridah, going down from Israel. So our rabbis who came from Israel, and who is that? Umanu Ula, Mishmei Rabbi Yochanan, Amar. Ula said in the name of Rabbi Yochanan, Shlakos mevarchin alein shakol niyeh b'dvaro. That on boiled vegetables, the bracha is shakol niyeh b'dvaro. Okay, very cool. Ba'ani omer, kol shetchilaso b'rei pri adama shalko shakol niyeh b'dvaro. So, and I say, says Rav Chizda, right? So Rav Chizda basically says we have machlokes between Rav and Rabbi Yochanan. Rav says that on boiled vegetables you say b'rei pri adama, and Rabbi Yochanan says on boiled vegetables you say shakol niyeh b'dvaro. So it says Rav Chizda, and I'm saying kol shetchilaso b'rei pri adama shalko shakol niyeh b'dvaro. If you have something that starts out as b'rei pri adama, right? Then when you cook it, when you boil it, it becomes shakol niyeh b'dvaro. And anything that starts out as shakol niyeh b'dvaro, you boil it, it becomes b'rei pri adama. Meaning, Rav Chizda is saying that Rav and Rabbi Yochanan are actually not arguing. Okay? They're just talking about different things. When Rav says that you say b'rei pri adama on boiled vegetables, he's talking about something like a gourd, right? We mentioned the other day that on raw gourd, you wouldn't say b'rei pri adama because that's not how you normally eat it. It's not derech achilaso. Therefore, you'd say shakol niyeh b'dvaro. But when you cook it, then all of a sudden you would say b'rei pri adama. And that's what Rab's talking about. When Rabbi Yochanan says you say shakol niyeh b'dvaro, that's talking about something we're going to learn in a second. What's an example of something that initially you would say b'rei pri adama when it's raw, but dafka by cooking it, you would no longer say b'rei pri adama, you would say now shakol niyeh b'dvaro. So we're talking about different things. So the Gemara says, Bishlama kol shetchilaso shakol niyeh b'dvaro, shakol b'rei pri adama. I understand things that, when they're raw, they would be shakol niyeh b'dvaro, and by cooking it, you now make it b'rei pri adama. Mishkachas la b'karba, you find it with cabbage, which is interesting, because nowadays we eat cabbage raw in salads and things. Visilka, beets, even beets, I think we eat sometimes raw in salads. Vikara, and raw gourd, which the funny thing is, I think even gourd we eat in salads, but maybe I'm wrong. raw. I don't know, like to make like spaghetti out of it or something. I guess maybe they cook that. But in any event, right, or definitely like a potato. People don't really eat potatoes raw, right? So things like that start off as shakoni with raw. You then cook them and they become boy priyadama. I get it. But what would be an example of something that starts out as boy priyadama and by cooking it, it becomes shakoni b'dvaro? What do you davka eat raw, but when you cook it, you wouldn't really eat it that way? So which is interesting. Rav Nachman Yitzchak says we find it with garlic and leeks. But honestly, I think of both garlic and leeks as things that I would really only eat cooked. Do people eat leeks raw? I thought they're always like in like soups and, I don't know, cooked somehow, roasted. But in any event, that would be what Rabbi Yochanan is talking about when he says shakol yevdro. He's talking about things that, you normally eat raw, but by cooking them, they would now be shakol. Okay, very exciting stuff. Darish Rav Nachman. So now Rav Nachman made a drasha. Mishum Rabbeinu Umanu Shmuel. So now he said the name Rabbeinu, and this Rabbeinu, and when he says Rabbeinu, is referring to Rav's contemporary Shmuel, which is interesting. So in the past, we've had Rabbeinu come up a few times actually, I think, in this Masechta, and it's always been Rav. But over here, Rav Nachman seems to be referring to Rabbeinu as Shmuel. Okay. Shlakos Mevarchan Aleim B'rei Priyadama. Okay, so he says that on boiled vegetables you say B'rei Priyadama. Fine. V'chavereinu Ayordim Eretz Yisrael, and our friends who came down from Eretz Yisrael. Umanu, who's that? Ula. Mishmei Rabbi Yochanan Amar Shlakos Mevarchan Aleim Shakoni Yemedvaro. So Ula says in the name of Rabbi Yochanan that on Shlakos you would say Shakoni Yemedvaro. Okay. So now Rashi says something interesting, which is that Rav Nachman referred to Ula not as Rabboseinu but as Chavarenu, because Rav Nachman was an important person. I think he was politically connected. I think maybe he was the son-in-law of like the Reish Galusa, which was like a political position, like the head of the leader, like the leader of the Jewish community that would sort of be the liaison to like the Persian ruler or something like that. But in any event, so Rav Nachman referred to Ula as our friend as opposed to our teacher. And so he says, okay, Rabbi Yochanan says Shakoni Yevdro. So it's basically the same machlokesh, instead of Rav, it's Shmuel, right? So Rabbi Nachman says, Shmuel says on boiled vegetables you say B'rei Priyadama. Rav says on boiled vegetables, and Rabbi Yochanan says on boiled vegetables you say Shakoni Yevdro. V'ani Omer, and Rabbi Nachman says, and I say, B'machlokas Shnuya. It's taka machlokas. About what bracha do you make on boiled vegetables? Shmuel says B'rei Priyadama. Rabbi Yochanan says Shakoni Yevdro. The Tanya, as we learn in a brisa, Yotzin birkike birakik ashari, right? It's talking about matzah and Pesach, right? Let's say, I don't know, you don't have to have teeth or something like that. If for whatever reason the hard matzah is very difficult for you, so you could soak it in water, right? What about gibraks? I don't know. Yotzin birakik ashari, so you could take matzah and you could soak it in water, and then you can eat it. Uvimevushel shaloni moach divrei Reb Meir. Reb Meir says you can even boil it. As long as it hasn't, lost its structural integrity, you can even, eat matzah that's been boiled. It stays the same. Rabbi Yossi Omer, Yotzim Berakik Ashari Avalo B'Mevushel Afal Pishlo Nimoach Zeu. Whereas Rabbi Yossi says that while you can biyotze with matzah that's been soaked in water, you cannot boil it even if it's kept its structural integrity. So we see that boiling it, according to Rabbi Yossi, actually changes it, and it's no longer the original item. So therefore, we want to say that Rabbi Meir says boiling doesn't make any difference. So therefore, also Shmuel is going to say like Rabbi Meir in that when you boil vegetables, it stays B'rei Priyadama. Whereas Rabbi Yochanan is going to say like Rabbi Yossi that boiling it actually does make a difference, and it changes it. And therefore, by matzah, you can no longer be yotze eating matzah once it's boiled. And by vegetables, it's no longer going to be B'rei Priyadama, it's going to be Shakoni Yevdro. Vilohi. And the Gemara says no, but Rav Nachman's sort of mahalech doesn't work so good. No. Both Rabbi Yossi and Rabbi Meir would say that when it comes to boiled vegetables, the bracha is B'rei Priyadama. So then, how come Rabbi Yossi says that by matzah, boiling it would make you not be able to use it? So Vadkan lo kam Rabbi Yossi hasam elam mishum debein tam matzah veleka havalacha afilu Rabbi Yossi modem. The only reason why Rabbi Yossi says that matzah that's been boiled you can't use is because it doesn't have the flavor of matzah. It doesn't have the taste of matzah anymore. And it's interesting, I guess it sounds like you need, it's important that you have the taste of matzah. And therefore, boiling it loses the taste. Even though it's still matzah, it loses the taste. When it comes to vegetables, boiling it doesn't matter, it's still a vegetable. And you'll say, B'rei Priyadama, even if it might lose its taste. Okay, very good. Amar B'chia bar Abba, Amar B'Yochanan. So sagt Rabbi Chia bar Abba in the name of Rabbi Yochanan, Shlakos mevarchen aleim by pri adama. That on boiled vegetables, the bracha is by pri adama. Rabbi Binyamin bar Yefes Amar, Rabbi Yochanan, Shlakos mevarchen aleim shakon yevdvaro. Whereas Rabbi Binyamin bar Yefes says in the name of Rabbi Yochanan that the bracha on boiled vegetables is shakon yevdvaro. Okay. Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak kavu'ula l'shabeshte Rabbi Binyamin bar Yefes. So Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak says, look, Ula, for some reason, he had heard, I guess, both opinions of Rabbi Chia bar Abba and Rabbi Binyamin bar Yefes. Rabbi Chia bar Abba says that Rabbi Yochanan says that the bracha on boiled vegetables is Bei Pri Adama. Rabbi Binyamin bar Yefes quotes Rabbi Yochanan as saying it's Shakonim B'Dvaro. And Rabbi Yehuda, Ula got mixed up, and he wasn't sure if it's like Rabbi Chia bar Abba or Rabbi Binyamin bar Yefes. So he just went with Rabbi Binyamin bar Yefes' mahalach that Rabbi Yochanan says that on boiled vegetables you say Shakon Yevdvaro, and that's why in the two machlokes that we just quoted until now, right, the one between Rav and Rabbi Yochanan, the one between Shmuel and Rabbi Yochanan's opinion was quoted by Ula in both to be Shakon Yevdvaro, because he was, going like Rabbi Binyamin bar Yefes' version of Rabbi Yochanan, that he says that on boiled vegetables you say Shakon Yevdvaro. Now, Toy bar Reb Zera was very intrigued by Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak's assertion that Ula would just randomly go like Rabbi Binyamin bar Yefes. Rabbi Binyamin bar Yefes etzel Rabbi Chia bar Abba. What, when you compare Rabbi Binyamin bar Yefes and Rabbi Chia bar Abba, Rabbi Binyamin bar Yefes does not, hold up whatsoever. Rabbi Chia bar Abba is a way better candidate to choose. Rabbi Chia bar Abba daik v'gamar shmaitim Rabbi Yochanan Rabbi, as we learned on Daf Lamud Gimel Amud Beis, right? If you guys remember from that whole Hilchasa, halacha, matin, modim, all that stuff, right? Nirin. So we said that we go like Rabbi Chia bar Abba's account, that I believe it was, I don't even remember, was it matin, I think? But in any event, we go like Rabbi Chia bar Abba because why? Didayik v'gamer shmaite Rabbi Yochanan Rabbi. He was extremely meticulous when it came to quoting his Rebbe Rabbi Yochanan. Rabbi Binyamin bar Yefes lo dayik. Rabbi Binyamin bar Yefes wasn't extremely meticulous in quoting his Rebbe, and therefore, if we're going to have to choose between somebody who's extremely meticulous and somebody who isn't, it's no brainer. Of course, you would go with Rabbi Chia bar Abba's quoting of Rabbi Yochanan that it's Bei Pri Adama. V'od, and more so, Rabbi Chia bar Abba kotlasin yomin mahadar Talmudi kamid Rabbi Yochanan Rabbi. Rabbi Chia bar Abba every 30 days would review everything he knew in front of Rabbi Yochanan, i.e., he was constantly reviewing Dafka in front of Rabbi Yochanan. If he had a mistake, he would have been able to resolve it every 30 days when he was reviewing everything. Rabbi Binyamin bar Yefes lo mahadar. Rabbi Binyamin bar Yefes didn't go over everything that he knew every 30 days. V'od, and not only that, bar mendain, uvar mendain. Aside from the fact that as a candidate, Rabbi Chia bar Abba was just a much better choice. They apparently had some kind of a bean that was called a turmasa. It comes up every so often. And to prepare this bean, you had to cook it 7 times before it was ready to eat. And then afterwards, it was some kind of a delicacy, and it was extremely delicious. And then after this sort of arduous preparation process, it was a very delicious dessert. Okay? So also v'shalu Rabbi Yochanan, so they asked Rabbi Yochanan, what bracha do you make on this bean that's been cooked 7 times? And he said, you say Bei Pri Adama. Boom. So we see that Rabbi Yochanan says that on a boiled vegetable, you say Bei Pri Adama. V'od, and more so, Amar Rabbi Chia bar Abba. Rabbi Chia bar Abba said, Ani ra'ises Rabbi Yochanan shachol zayis maliach uverech alav tchila v'sov. Rabbi Chia bar Abba said, I saw Rabbi Yochanan eat a salted olive. And Rashi points out that something that's been salted over a few days, I think it's like pickled or cured. So basically, he says maliach kroseach. He quotes a Gemara in Pesachim that says that something that's been cured in such a way is as though it was boiled. Okay, so basically, essentially, Rabbi Chia bar Abba was saying that Rabbi Yochanan ate a boiled olive, and he made a bracha beforehand and afterwards. Okay, now what bracha did he make beforehand and afterwards? So I understand if you say that shlakos remain the same, and you say Bei Pri Adama on it, well then betchilim varach ala Bei Pri Ha'etz. Well then, if we're saying that something that's boiled remains the same, so then this olive, maintains its bracha of bori priya eitz. So mistama, then the bracha that Rabbi Yochanan made on it was bori priya eitz, and afterwards he said, right, al eitz va priya eitz. Eli amar shlakos labim musayu kaime. So, but if you say that when you boil something, or in this case when we're salting it, it doesn't remain the same. So b'shlomo v'tchilim v'archalav shakon yebedvaro. So granted that beforehand, fine, Rabbi Yochanan would have made bracha brain nefashos. Ela levasof ma'im mevarich. But in the end, what bracha would he make afterwards? Right? What bracha would he make afterwards? Therefore, the fact that Rabbi Chiya bar Abba is saying that Rabbi Yochanan made a bracha beforehand and afterwards, so then it's implying that he was saying bori priya eitz and bracha achas mein shalosh, and that implies that Rabbi Yochanan assumes that cooking something doesn't matter and it stays the same, and zeo, and that means that by vegetables also it would be bori priya dama. But then the Gemara says, now I have two ways I can understand this line. It says Dilma bori nefashos abaz chason and kol mashabara, right? So it could be that the Gemara is answering, well, this isn't really a good proof because maybe afterwards he was saying bori nefashos rabos v'chasonin afterwards. So maybe when Rabbi Chiya bar Abba was saying that he made a bracha before and afterwards, maybe it actually was theoretically shakon yebedvaro before and bori nefashos rabos afterwards. And therefore, theoretically, I can argue from this story that Rabbi Yochanan would say that cooking would make a difference and would change it and would make it shakol, right? So this isn't a good proof. Or you could say, right, my mevarich dilma bori nefashos rabos v'chasonin al kol mashabara, right? What bracha would he make afterwards? What are you going to tell me? He's going to say bori nefashos? So what? Bori nefashos, right? As we've seen in other contexts, bori nefashos is referred to as velo klum, as if you're not making any bracha afterwards. So therefore, Rabbi Chiya bar Abba wouldn't, if he's saying that Rabbi Yochanan made a bracha beforehand and afterwards, he's not saying that he made a bracha in bori nefashos afterwards, because that's velo klum. That's nothing, right? As we've seen, for example, on Daf Lamed Zayin Amud Aleph, right? Right, we say that on where do we say it? Right, that the Rabbanim basically say that on rice you say bracha, or maybe it's Lamed Zayin Amud Beis that you say on rice, right? Right, exactly. That Orez v'dochmer b'Gamliel omer bracha achas mein shalosh v'chacham omer v'lo klum. Right? You make bori nefashos, which is what's called v'lo klum, right? So therefore, Rabbi Chiya bar Abba wouldn't be reporting that he made a bracha before and afterwards, and saying the bracha he made afterwards was bori nefashos, because that's v'lo klum. Therefore, I guess then it is a good proof that Rabbi Yochanan was assuming that the integrity of the fruit remained the same even after it was cooked, and he made a bori priya eitz beforehand. And afterwards, you're saying a bracha achas mein shalosh. Okay. Most of Rav Yitzchak bar Shmuel asked a kasha. Yirakos shadim yotzei bayin yidei chovaso bepesach yotzei bayin uvekelach shalen. So any vegetable that a person could be yotzei with for maror on Pesach, he's yotzei with them and their stalk. Okay. Avalo kvushin, but not if they're pickled. V'lo shlukin, not if they're boiled. V'lo muvushal, and not if they're boiled to a lesser degree. And if we're going to be arguing, like we argued, pretty much this entire page, that boiling a vegetable, keeps its integrity and it remains bori nefashos, it remains bori priya dama. So then, why should you be unable to use a boiled maror for maror? It's still a vegetable after all. So, that's not really a good proof, because even you can argue that no, boiling the vegetable does retain its bori priya dama, and it's still a vegetable and it remains the same, just that it loses the flavor of maror. We need it to be bitter, and if you're boiling out the bitterness, then it's not going to work, but it would still be bori priya dama. Fine, the seder. Okay, cool. So today was also interesting, just some more kind of deep dives and trying to figure out the differences between brachos. When do you make certain brachos? When do you say adama? When maybe you wouldn't say adama, right? And then mizonos, hamotzi, all that kind of stuff. We're still playing around with all sorts of stuff floating around our heads. And I guess we can just hope that we'll get some clarity as we keep on pushing ahead. Peace out.